Okay, now that we've finally created our Flask app with our machine learning tool, our little roulette wheel, or Monte Carlo simulation, we are going to give this Flask app some UI so we can test that the Flask app and its endpoint API is working and that we're triggering the machine learning model to run. So we're going to create this simple UI. It's not React. It's not going to be fancy. It's just to test the code, really. So I'm going to get started here. And then the first thing we're going to do is let's get rid of these files first. First thing we're going to do is look at our app.py. And what we're going to do here is we're going to import some new statements. So I have 4 parameters here. We have a ticker, a number of iterations to run, total dollar amount, and number of months. The first thing we're going to do is make sure we're going to return a template here. So we're going to get rid of hello world. So what Flask can also do is function as a front end server where you can load HTML, so we can render templates like this. Need a space there. So render templates, template, and then we can do index.html. So from the Flask app, we have to import this function render template here. All right, that looks good. And then we want to return our data here. So we're going to do JSONify. So that's just going to transform our data into a JSON structure. So the front end can load it. So we need to do JSONify here. Make sure that I have that right. So first thing we need to do here is create a new folder called templates for our Flask app. And then inside templates, we can go ahead and create our HTML file, index.html. Now we're going to get a basic structure up. If you're not familiar with HTML, you get this doc type, and then you have this. These are called tags. So you have an open tag, and then you close the tag. So we've closed the tag here. So let me zoom in a little bit. Kind of get rid of this. So you have HTML, and then you need a head, and then you also need a body. So the body is not inside the head here, it's below the head. So the head can contain a lot of metadata, SEO kind of stuff, if you're doing optimizations, it's important. So like, for example, having a title to your web page will help that a lot. Input. And inside of our body, we can go ahead and start making our UI input. So we can just do an H1 header tag. So you have H1, H2, H3. These are just different sizes of headers to format the pages. So model parameters, and then we're going to create a form. D equals model form. So this tag form is a special type of tag that we can use an ID attribute here called model form. Your IDs can be what you can call them whatever you want, but it's like labeling a tag that you can use later to call data out of the HTML page. So here we're going to fill out the whole form, and I'm going to just walk you through the code here. So let's just take it slow. So what you need here is a label first. So when you create a label, just remove this, I'll type it out one by one. So if we take a label, type a label tag, and then you need to type 4 equals ticker, and then you can kind of close the label like that, and then do ticker there. And then under that, you only need one input. So for the input, you can type in the type, and this is going to be a text. So since it's a ticker symbol, text is like a string, and then ID is going to be ticker, So when they input data, it's going to be labeled ticker, and you'll see it match up later on. And then we need some brackets here. So you can leave input tags not closed for HTML here. And then these BRs are just a way to like add line breaks inside of it. So we have our own 4 inputs, as I mentioned before: ticker, number of iterations, dollars, number of months. Now below our form, we're going to need to insert a div tag to load our results. So to see that our model is returning its data. So I'm going to just do ID results. Oh, made a mistake again. It likes to autofill a lot. And then we're going to do a header to results semicolon. And then we are going to do what we call pre-tag ID equals model output. Try and close it there. Oh, deleted itself. Okay. So what this does is that this ID tells JavaScript, we're going to write some JavaScript, that the inputs from here related to this form, it's going to give you 4 data points. And when you submit the form, and then this last input is really important. It's going to create a button. So when you do type equals button, it's going to load a button on the screen. So let me try to get the Python server running and see if it works correctly, to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I need to zoom out. So here we have our enter models parameters and then submit. You can go ahead and just kind of show you, if I change the type to number, that changes the result of that. See, now it's an input box, but if I type it to a button, that gives us a button here. Maybe refresh the page. Okay. See, so now this doesn't work. If we put data in, we're not going to get data to the app at all. Also, there's no validation code for this. So if there's just empty input boxes, you don't know if it's like actually working like it's supposed to. So we're going to go ahead and add our add our JavaScript here. So what that means is we're going to create a script tag. Script tag should be at the end. And then we are going to create a function. So you can go ahead, type function, and then submit form. So this is camel case, is that you have a lowercase on the first word and then an uppercase on the next word and then a lowercase. So that's what I call camel case in JavaScript. And we can go ahead, and in here, I'm just going to copy the code to save ourselves time. Is that we create an object we call form data. So you type in constant here equals new form data. And then this document get element by ID. This has to match. So this matches IDs above. So if you want to get data out of specific inputs, this model form ID matches up here. So if I control F and do model form, you see it matches the form ID to the document get element ID. So it's going to get the data when we click submit. So when we click submit, this on click event, this triggers the code to run in the scripts. So what we're going to do next is then do a fetch request. So fetch. And then we're going to type in the endpoint, call model. Okay. Then we are going to use curly brackets. So we're going to have to do method post, comma, body, form, data. So what this is here, this is creating a a web request, basically. Is that we're creating a web request, and its method is post, and it's going to take the data and then post it to our Flask app, basically. So it's looking for this endpoint called model. So if I go back to my Flask app and scroll down, I have this empty endpoint for a page, and then I have this call model endpoint. So I just want to make sure that matches. And then the data is going to come in through this form data once we finish the rest of this function. Make sure that your code is inside of the function. That's important to know. All right, and then we need to handle a response. So if I send data from my front end to a back end, you could get a bad network connection or lag, and then the web request could drop. So you need to write some, these are like called then statements that just like asynchronously kind of handling anything that goes wrong. So return response JSON. So when it's a little bit difficult to explain fetch request diagram in JavaScript, what makes JavaScript really important is that there's this special thing called async request. So this is the best chart I think I can find for you guys. Open new image tab. So like if I send a web request, it's going to wait and keep trying. It's going to keep sending a web request to the backend over and over and over again. And if it fails, this .catch will catch the error basically. There's this thing, it's like async request diagram. So basically when you run JavaScript code, it's constantly like checking over and over again. I don't know if this diagram is going to be good. It's not a good way to explain it. Basically, it's a way for your code to kind of just keep checking in the background. That's the only way I can sort of explain it there. All right, so we're going to add that error code in. So let's add that in here really quick, make it readable. So if we get the data here back, if we get the data, so this is a success statement, like, oh, it worked, right? This data is going to be taken and then placed inside where model output is. So if we go look at where model output is, that's where I put the results. So if I send a web request, I take my inputs, give it to the Flask app, it comes back and then loads where the data is. That's where it's going to put it. And then if anything goes wrong, we have a .catch, and then it will just console log an error. So if something breaks, it will load an error saying like that just didn't work. All right, so if we go back to our Flask app, we should have everything we need here. I think I'm missing a request statement here. This is just, these are functions that let us kind of pass data from the back end to the front end. So here, our code should look like this pretty much, and we can go ahead and kind of print out form underscore data, and then it's a dictionary. You can do ticker. Now we just need to check that it works. So we're taking this object here. So a request, you know, I made a post request. This is the same request, and we're just going to get the data out of it. Go ahead and zoom out a little bit so it's a little bit readable. So I'm going to print this out. And we're going to come here. And then I'm going to say 100 iterations, $1,000, 12 months. And we're going to submit. I need to refresh, of course. Why would I? Make sure I refresh. And then 12 months. All right. So I should just get a print statement. And it's complaining here. So here it is. I typed in IBM. If I type in Apple, we'll get something else. Let's just do Google. If I submit Google, there we go. We have A for Google that showed up. And then it's triggering right now our API code that we wrote earlier. So it actually got the data of Google here, or Alphabet, I should say, and just gave us all the prices here. Are those the prices? It looks exactly like IBM's prices. Yeah, always make sure that you're getting the correct data. I don't think that looks correct to me, but anyways, we're going to continue on and finish the rest of it here. Sorry about that. All right, so we are getting this error. It's arguing that basically it's not getting the correct parameters it needs. So we need to go back to model call, and then we have to update what's happening there. So we are getting our data, and then we just need to update where this data is being passed from. So what that means is that in here, we need to make sure that every parameter is getting passed. So we have, data for the model, and then we have form underscore data number underscore iterate. That's good. Make sure form data, we need to make sure this is passing correctly. So we're passing an API key and then form data, and we get form data. Data equal form data there. Should fix that. All right, and then we'll have form data dollars, and then form data number of months. Okay, and then we should close the function. That should work there. Then we'll run the Python code again. Now let me print this object out. We should take a look at what this request looks like. So if I go ahead and come back here and submit it, you can see what's in thing here. String be interpreted. Here we go. Response A worked. It's not printing out correctly. Restart the server. Should come back here and remove. So we're printing out the database every time here, so we don't want to do that. Let's just make the command line readable. I think I got it there. Okay, let me submit again. All right, there we go. There it is. So if you saw, so when I clicked submit, it went really fast. So like when we click submit, it will trigger the response again. There it is. So this immutable dictionary, I'm still printing it out somewhere. Calling it right, service API calls. Print statement. Oh, yeah, there. Printing the data out instead of load and preprocess, that's why. Okay. So now we're getting an error, and we're just going to debug this really quick. So it's saying iterations is not integer. We need to go back to where it's erroring out. Number of integers. So we got that. You just want to make sure you can just wrap it there, double check that it's working. Okay, and then we can open up the model again and submit. Response work, no engine for file. Type. It's complaining about the save step, so we can skip this step for now and really it's just a step to like save your data locally. It's not exactly required, but for here we're just going to return new results here. All right, and then we should get something working. Okay, response to work. Models.result is not defined. Yeah, because it requires a S. That's why. And then finally, so in a sense, we took. I'll walk everything through again. So we have ticker A here. We have a number of iterations, $1,000 in 12 months. That data is going to show up and print here at some point in time. And then the data is going to get passed to our model call here. And that data will pull that ticker symbol will then trigger another function to get us stock prices, and that will go into our model, and then our model will get our predicted results back to us. Basically, that's just the gist of it. So we're going to click submit, and then it should load the results. So that pie chart we saw earlier all shows up here, negative 22% to 1%, and it will auto bin and things like that. So yeah, that's how you do that. So our next step from here is to then try to save data from our app. So just kind of teaching you how to generate data and then save it to a database and use it later on. And this is where you can get really creative and come up with your own diagrams and what data is important for you to record and what is kind of going to create like a historical database for you to develop more machine learning models on. So yeah, that's it.